I remember I did a wedding and I told my partner, and that same night they were like, oh well, I just don't see you. She's like, I see you're a smart guy, you could do it, but I don't see you, like, pretty much like you're lazy. And I remember I was like, I grinded my ass off. You weren't seeing me like lug equipment. I just remember sweat. Like, I remember I had to, when I used to do certain events, I had to have a pre-outfit. Like, I would wear like shorts and a t-shirt because I'm lugging so much. I used to do it on my own, and the pay that I did it for was laughable, but I did it because I was like, that's date night money, you know, because I would never make my partners pay. And then that became a thing where it's like, well, I tried to pay and you didn't let me. And in my head, I'm like, you're right, I didn't. And that's probably what led you to believe that I was insecure.
Welcome to Guys That Listen. I'm Peter, and today we got special guest Rydre on the pod.
What's up, you guys? What's up?
Right, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so my name's Rydre, DJ, regular dude, brother, aspiring dancer.
Aspiring dancer. No, you're there, bro. You're there.
Appreciate you.
No, of course, dude. And I think one of the things I first want to talk about is our friendship and how that came about. And, you know, we talked about this before because if Rydre hadn't, I guess, quote unquote, shot his shot at our friend group, then we wouldn't be here having this conversation.
Yeah, I'll go into the backstory. So this was around 20, anyway, when the streaming era was like really peaking, we're DJing.
The golden age of streaming.
The golden age. And why I would call it like shooting my shot is because I was in a space before where I remember during the pandemic, I was just kind of looking at my life before and just being like, man, like I feel like I'm not tapping into my full self. So I wanted to take more risk into like putting myself in environments where I feel like I would fit. So I was invited to go with you guys. You guys were streaming. This was back in the Band LA stuff. And I was just chilling by myself. And then it was Jules. He said something about Smash. And I remember hearing it. And I remember just kind of like, because I'm like a big Super Smash person. Like, played from Nintendo 64. Used to play with my sisters, my cousins, my whole family. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, like, these guys, like, they do music stuff and they play Smash. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, would it be kind of weird if I, like, kind of went over there and said something? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And then in my head, I was like, you know what? Just like when you're, like, see a girl at the club or whatever, you're just kind of like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm going to go talk to him. So I was like, I just went up and I was like, oh, you guys play Smash? He's like, yeah. You play Smash? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what are you doing next Wednesday? I was like, really? He's like, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Here, get my number. And then just boom, instantly. And then, like, from then on, it just catapulted into meeting you guys. And now I see you guys at least, like, once, sometimes twice a week. And so, yeah, shoot your shot. You know, don't just... I feel like we just reserve that kind of mentality for, like, going out and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like,
no. Approaching the opposite sex, or, I mean, in some cases, same sex. And, you know, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because, you know, when I met you, I'm like, oh, this guy's a very outgoing guy, you know. Obviously, right away, you could tell that you're very authentic and very genuine. So I was, like, open armed, you know, like, come in, dude. You're welcome, bro. And to me, after getting to know you, you know, through these years, and you telling me about your past and how that wasn't always how you were, like as a child, it was something that you maybe even struggled with. And I think a lot of people struggle with it nowadays, and I kind of want to go into that because I think a lot of people could use that knowledge, especially for people who know you, or at least don't know that part of you. They know the version now. How different version one is from the present day. For sure,
yeah. And I think it's I don't really, it's not something like I'll tell people like on a one-on-one basis, but it's like I told myself being on this podcast, I'm like, I don't want to just be the guy you always see. I want to go deeper. And like one of the biggest things when I was a kid, obviously I was a kid, so I didn't know what like social anxiety was, but I knew deep down just kind of crutching onto the things I was used to. And like then growing up and actually like it kind of affected parts of my life that were, you know, very crucial. But why I bring up like the social anxiety thing is like for a very, very long time, even when I was a kid, like I was super timid. A big thing, like even my mom, she'd be like, I'd go to school and I'd be like first grade and she'd be like, okay, today you have to talk to 3 people. You have to talk to 3 people. And that'd be the first thing. I'd come home and she'd be like, who did you talk to today? But just to like go back to your question about just kind of who I am and getting to know myself better, the main thing for me in my like new chapter of my life is just putting myself out there more. I've always been, as you can tell, like I'm always out there, but I still have that mentality of like, okay, you gotta, don't just stand there, like go up to people, talk to people, whoever. It could be some random stranger, it could be anybody. But yeah, now, like I said, it's something that I still, like as outgoing as I am, a lot of people that just know me on the like outside, maybe you'll see me in the nightlife scene or DJing, but I'm up there, I'm doing my thing, but I'm always sometimes having like this mental battle of like jumping out of my fear kind of, or my comfort zone, I guess. Because like it's crazy, because the first things that come up to me, like I'll go to a place, I'll be jumping around dancing, and in the back of my head I'll be like, oh my god, everyone's staring at me, even though I'm the one making the most noise. I'm the one, it's almost like the version of me on the outside is like combating with the version in my head, and I'm trying to like unify them both and like come okay with it. And it takes time, but I want people to like see me, because a lot of people are like, what, you're so like, everyone thinks I'm like the most extroverted person. I'm like, I've kind of taught myself to be that way. Like I would say that I was like the introvert that read the Extrovert for Dummies book. And it's proven, it's opened so many doors, and it's been really, really fun and amazing. And it's like, it's helped me, like even in spaces where I didn't think, like, and I've noticed now compared to like, I always analyze my life, and I, even in like job interviews, even just a lot of people see me, and it's helped me to give off that energy of like openness, you know.
Now that you mentioned that, you know, you're overcoming kind of like your fears, these things that have opened so many doors for you, I think about myself and other people that I know that have grown up timid, who now present themselves as a more extroverted version, I guess you would say, that it comes with a lot of work. Yeah. You know, still, you know, just like how you say when you're still DJing, you still go through that. You still go through that mental battle. Yes. And, you know, me and myself, I still go through that mental battle. And it's just, we've worked on it for so long, it seems a little bit more natural to how we are. But everyone has comfort zones, and everyone has an area where they're uncomfortable with, right? Just to be realistic. And I think if there's anything to get out of this, is that it can be practiced. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, everyone believes that they are one way or another. Well, not everyone, but most people believe they're one way or another, and that's all they've ever known. So they're so scared to step on the other side. They might even feel like it's wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, well, you know, you talked to me about how you are naturally, right? Yeah. Or at least outside of the confines of a club, let's say. Yeah. But when you go and you DJ and you hop on the mic, there is almost like a version 2 of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And in my head, I always say like there's Rydre, the guy, and then there's like Rydrizzy, this guy who like, he's out there, he's got like chains on and all this shit. And it's like, sometimes I look in the mirror, I'm just like it's almost like not like a persona per se, but it's like, I always used to like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. And when I turn into like Dr. Jekyll, right, he's this guy that can like talk to anybody. He goes out to the club. He's like, you know, just super, just all eyes on me. That's what I want. Confidence on max. And it's cool. It's definitely like, I brought this up to you before, where something that happens to me often is like, I'll go to the club, I'll go as like Rydrizzy, and people will like take videos and stuff, and I'll go home, and like once the effect kind of wears off, like the Incredible Hulk kind of thing, where like I become Bruce Banner again, and I'm looking at these videos, and I was like, whoa, like a lot of people will be like looking at videos from the next day and be like, oh my god, I was like so drunk, and in my head I was like, damn, like I could dance like that. Like I didn't, for me, like I have a mirror in my house and I just kind of stare in the mirror, but I can't really see. I used to like video myself, and like I actually wish I still had the files. It was on my last laptop, but basically like I would be like looking at myself, it's me, and I'm like, whoa, like that doesn't, it's almost like looking at like maybe your like twin, because I'm like, wow, that's me, but I don't remember like doing that, but not from a space of like oh, I was so drunk. It's like this other person, like I said, the Hulk Bruce Banner type of thing. But it comes with a lot of mental fortitude, I guess the best I could put it, and I'm still learning like how to combat both. A big one for me is like, especially like the DJ space, I've learned it's very, you got to be out there, and it's great. And there's times where it kind of clashes a little bit, like mentally for me. I know everybody's like thing is kind of different, but for me sometimes I'll be in spaces where you're just around the party scene a lot, and sometimes it's like Rydre doesn't want to party. He kind of wants to like sit at home. And to quickly there's been times, man, where I'm supposed to be prepping for a gig. I'm in bed all day. I just don't have I'm not in the like, you know, sometimes I have to DJ in a club where you're required to, like, I'm the DJ. I can't walk in there. It's like I'm the party just captain, I guess I could say. And so there's been times I've gone up and like I'll never forget this time. I was like right about to enter the club. I'm sitting in my car. I'm listening to like Summer Walker, dude. I'm supposed to be out there. It's gonna be like bitches and bottles and da da da. And I'm just listening to
Summer Walker.
Yeah, I'm just sitting in my car listening to Summer Walker, just kind of chilling and just kind of thinking like, man, like I know I want this. I know like I love music. I know that walking into the club scene kind of comes with this. I don't know how to like describe it, but it just sometimes I'm like, gosh, I know mentally I'm not here, but I have to like, I'm like forcing like, right, Jersey, come out right now. Like we got to go. And just different things. It's trying to unify like different things. My new technique now is like when I'm getting ready to go out, I have my speaker on. I'm like, I've noticed when I do like my pregame now used to be like when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, dude, let's get like 3-4 locos and a buzz ball. Let's just go to town. Now it's like, I'll get ready, take my time, play like I have like a get ready playlist, and it like starts with just something medium. I like a lot of like Bryson Tiller stuff, so I'll play like R&B, and then he has like some of his songs are a little bit more like I probably listened to like Wild Thoughts like a million times, and then it slowly, next thing you know, I'm like Lil Jon and the East Side Boy, something like that.
You're like building yourself up.
Yeah, and it works for me. It works for me.
What you're mentioning is kind of like the customer service version of DJing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you go into your job, let's say you're in customer service, right? Yeah. Any form of customer service or, you know, hospitality. Even if you don't feel like it, and you know you're going to probably deal with some assholes.
Oh, 100%.
You got to turn on that customer service voice, right? Yeah. Whereas in DJing, maybe you're allowed to maybe cuss a little bit more, energy's a little bit higher, versus customer service like, hello, hi, my name's Peter, how may I help you today?
No, 100%. And it's funny, like even when I'm on the mic too, like they'll be like, tell them to like da-da-da. I'll be like, put your hands up, and then it's like, you know, most DJ would be like, put your fucking hands up. I was like, yeah, put your hands, because like Rydre Jersey wants to go off, and then Rydre's like, hey man, like this is gonna get posted, like your family might see this. They're gonna be like, what, like. But no, I feel that way so much, like the whole customer service aspect of it, because it is like that. And a lot of non-nightlife people, they'll probably look at me and be like, oh, your job is so hard. You got to go to the club and have fun. Like, and it's like, no, it is it's something that I think a lot of us that when we first started, at least for me, like I didn't become a DJ because I wanted to be in the club. I wanted to be a DJ because I listened to a lot of music, and my music taste ranges a lot. And, you know, the club is one aspect where you get to play that, like, because at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I grew up listening to like all types of, like I mentioned Lil Jon and East Side Boys because I remember when that Crunk Juice came out. I remember like fronting to backing it, and I'm like this dude who's like probably like I have a Spider-Man backpack on talking about like Lil Jon and just going crazy. And so I get to feed that like inner child of like getting crunk. And at the same time too, like we said, it's a customer service thing. Like, you know, like I expect people to come up to me and have like the silliest requests and stuff like that. And it's cool. Like it's like, I feel like requests are what, like, it's like people know we don't like them, but they're still gonna do it anyway.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, like I've met DJs where they don't mind it. I'll say as a DJ in my space, I don't mind requests, but I don't mind the like this like new sense of demand is crazy.
I think it's all in the approach.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
There's some people who like just go up in your face with the song name, like you better play it next.
Yeah.
There's some people that ask you nicely, hey, can you play this song if you have it? Some people are even nicer, they'll tip you, like, oh, here's like a 50, like if you could play this song, you know, and then you're like, oh shit, it's not so bad. But it comes with the territory, right? It's just like if you were to work in hospitality, you're going to have some good guests, right? It happens. But you're also going to have some assholes who don't understand. They're just rude and they don't really care about what you feel. Yeah. They're just demanding of your job and they believe that they're entitled to your services to that degree.
100%. Right? And like I said, like my personality is, I'm the type of person where if I do something for you, you know, like for example, someone will be like, I'll play my song. And I'm like, okay, I'll play for you. And if I look and you're not dancing or doing anything, like that's when like the like absolutely not.
The disrespect.
The disrespect. Yeah, and there's been times where they'll go sit down, play the song, and then come back, and I'm just like, oh no, this is the line was drawn. But it's I feel like it's something that like all of us have gone through. Like for me, it just comes out as DJing, but I know people that are like photographers, and I talk to like. I'm an industry guy, meaning like I'll talk to the security, I'll talk to the bartender, I'll talk to like literally everybody. And we all have the same plight, which is like for, you know, photographers, they'll be like, yo, some people, they want me to send them the photos and they don't understand. Like I don't send my raw photos unedited to you. And like this demand is there, you know, people are like, I want to post it tomorrow.
Yeah. And then just to make it clear for anyone who's like not a photographer who doesn't understand what raw photos are, it's just the very unedited version. And it's not the same as like when you take it from your iPhone. It actually looks like shit most of the time. Yeah. Which is the reason why people don't want to send it. And most of the time, people can't even view it. That's another thing too. Yes. So it just comes with the job, right? The occupation. Yeah. Like you know that because you've talked to photographers, so you understand. Yeah. And being in the industry, you also probably know like the problems of the security guard, the other DJs. Like it's one of those things where it's very similar to when people say you have to work in hospitality to really understand certain things and mechanics, right? Because until you're in it, like you don't see these things, and to a certain extent, maybe we shouldn't expect them to. Yeah, no, 100%. That's why the same way like I'd go to like my car mechanic, right, and be like, oh, I need this fixed. I wouldn't like sit over him and, you know, I'm like, I trust that you're the professional. I trust that you have the experience. The same way I would trust the photographer, the DJ, whatever. But this new scene is very big on like me, in the sense of like I realized the reason why people like to be like play my song is because in their head they came out, it's their night, right? But for me, I'm like, for them. Yeah, and everybody has this like this song will go crazy. I'm like, yeah, because everyone's perception is different. In tonight, it's like everyone's in the same night, but it's a different perception. So you think that this night, especially when you mix alcohol, it's like this would go crazy. I'm like, yeah, for you and your story. I'm the DJ that's trying to create everybody's story to be memorable. So some parts of it might not work for you, it might work, but you know, it's I think having different jobs and different like applying that, like I used to work at a bank and customer service was really big, and something I do in my life is like I apply different aspects of everything. Like I've applied DJing into, like I said earlier, just trying to be a better person in a job interview, or trying to be more approachable, talking to friends, or like approaching like women or whatever. It kind of can be applied. You just have to kind of look a little deeper and like stuff like that. But that's what I do. I don't know. I do the same thing. Yeah. I'm actually huge on like taking things outside of their own element and then implementing them somehow in my own life. Yeah. Even though it seems like a reach sometimes, I'm like, there's always something there that I could take and then implement and make it work. You know? So with what you were talking about DJing, how you're kind of portrayed, right? Like you go out to, specifically we're talking about club DJs, because there are other DJs that don't do that. But club DJs, you're supposed to be high energy, you're supposed to be outgoing, extroverted, right? And this is something I have noticed from working with so many DJs. And you can tell me if you think I'm wrong. Yeah. I believe that it's been going on so long like this to where you have to portray another person, and you have to almost be forced to interact, that you're finally at this point where you want to have a genuine conversation that's not just portrayed by this like person that you're trying to, pretty much give to the audience, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed after talking to a lot of DJs, like people want to be like, hey, I understand it's really hard to kind of catch up or really get to know each other inside of a club setting.
Yeah.
But people are more down to hang out.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, let's go grab a bite. Let's go talk. Let's actually hang out and be friends,
Yeah, man. That's
because you can only do that for so long. Like,
yeah. No, it's cool. Like something that, which is why I really appreciate like the Feel Good family, and not just that, but like you guys have linked me into like other collectives. I was just talking to the guys in Wavelink, and just like different. I'm like that guy. If you look hard enough, you're like, dude, like. I'm like the guy and it's like, oh, like I'm in the photo and you're like, oh, you were there? I was like, yeah, look in the back. I was right there. And I'm like jumping in everyone's space, but I love it for that reason. But something I'm trying to get better at is like, I have a lot of people that I've only seen after like 10 p.m.,
Yeah.
And it's not like on purpose. It's just I realize a lot of us have different parts of like our lives. Like I have friends that I'm like, you have kids? Like I had no idea. And they're like, yeah, like I'm a dad. And I'm like, whoa, like, or it's like, oh, I'm a mom. So now I'm trying to get better at. I'm very much like one-on-one guy. Like if any of my friends hit me up and they'll say, hey, like, let's go. My thing was like ramen. It's like, let's go get a bite. Let's go get some ramen. I'm like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Like, let's sit down and like talk like people, like what do you look like outside of the club, and it's something like how we do our Super Smash every Wednesday. It's really refreshing because it's like that's where I could just be myself, and we could still talk about like whatever stuff, if we're planning something or doing something else. But in terms of like my other friends, I really like getting to know them on like a just normal level. I feel like this culture of like you always have to be doing something, or like I think having like a side thing is cool, but I think we've got to a culture where it's like a lot of people feel like their side thing has to be thriving. Like it's like it has to be, and I'm like, no, like I've been a self-taught DJ. I've been doing it since 2012 or 2011. I don't even remember at this point, but it's like I've been doing it for so long. I don't even remember what exactly made me do it besides like the love for music. But I like listening to other people and be like, oh, like, what do you like to do? What do you like? I just found out like one of my friends who's a dancer is like into video games. I'm like, what? Like, I did not expect that.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm trying to get better at like making time for my friends outside of like the normal.
Yeah, I think it's almost required, right? Because with the nightlife scene, like that's just how it goes, because you can't really have these conversations unless you're there extremely early, where the opening DJ is playing something more chill. It's not gonna really happen. Right? So you have to find yourself thinking of different ways to meet up and getting to know people and connecting those dots, right? And I think that happens in a lot of different careers too. I think very similar if you have a customer service job. A lot of times you have to put on this, customer service voice and speak a certain way, and that doesn't really allow a person to kind of paint a picture of you and who you truly are. And I think in certain careers it's starting to change, right? Like I think very much in DJing that's starting to change. I think in, even in my occupation, I do mortgages, which is a professional finance field. And I find now that, especially because I work mainly independent, that when I am more genuine to who I am as like a person, and I bring in that little bit of professional side to me,
100%,
that people resonate with that more, and they choose to work with me more. And that's where it is. It's like finding that fine line between what is expected of you and who you are, and like blending the two together, right? It's like what you're saying.
No, 100%. And if you do it right, in my opinion, you get yielded results on both ends. I've noticed that I always have this thing where it's like there's been times in the nightlife scene where it's like you got to bring 10 people, right? And naturally people think like I don't know 10 people or which 10 people, and I realize like when I'm one-on-one, the number one question I get when I hang out with people, I don't even bring it up, is like, when are you DJing next? I want to come see you. And what I realize is like when I'm more genuine outside, the people want to return it back to me. And it's something that, like, now I'm in a space where I have so many people that want to come see me, to the point where I'm like, gosh, like, it's not even, I'm not inviting you. I'm in a space where I'm like, sometimes I'm getting a lot of no's. Like, I'll go out, like, personally, I'll send emails, I'll network, I'll do all that. And it's a very tight space in which, like, it's a who you know game. Plus the social media game changed a lot. Like, when I first started DJing, social media was like a thing, but now it's like, it's overwhelming. Like, I remember you just had to have, like, when I first started, Instagram was a little different, but now it's like, you gotta have TikTok, you gotta have Instagram, and then you gotta be posting on YouTube, and you gotta make videos, and you gotta clip those videos, and you gotta, make it Instagrammable, YouTubeable, likable. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is that, like, I have so many genuine friends now that I know if I had, like, the right space, they would flood, they would come. And that's something that, like, I don't think of people as tools to, like, for my own benefit. I don't think of, like, when people think about, like, oh, just, invite 100 people because 10 of them are bound to come by numbers. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I think I would get 80 people to come if I spent a little bit more time getting to know them.
That's true. So there's I deal with that a lot when it comes to nightlife, where it's like you invite people out and you feel this weird anxiety of, like, am I doing it just to bring people here?
Yeah.
Right. But I've come to learn a different kind of mindset. Maybe this will help you too. Right.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking of using people as, like, numbers, like, believe in your craft and what you're doing. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, like, you believe that you're a great enough DJ that people would be missing out if you did not invite them. Right? So you're doing them a disservice by not inviting them.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, I've always believed in myself, but now I have, like, people messaging me, like, because I'm in a new space now, like, to combat. I used to be, like, waiting for opportunities, and they didn't always come when I wanted it to. And it's cool to be patient, but then I got to this point where it's like, all right, like, you kind of have to, like make it happen, right? So I'll do things like, I bought this, like, little portable battery. I set up my GoPro, and I'll just go to the beach and just DJ. And people will be like, why didn't you hit me up for that? And I was like, oh shit, like, I just did that because I was bored and I just kind of wanted to just do something. And like I said, I've never looked at somebody and been like in my head, when I see somebody, I don't think about, oh, I want you there because I need a quota. It was more of like, oh, dude, like, you're outgoing, you're such a good dancer. I would love to give you a space which I could curate in which you would fit perfectly. And I'm realizing, like, because of my newfound, like, extra socialism, that there's more people that want to come than I'm actually, like, giving a space to. So now I'm like, okay, now I got to build up. Now that I have a strong network, now I have to exchange that and put it somewhere, because not only would it help me and help them, but it's like, this is my dream. This is, like, why I wanted to do this. I think some of my fondest memories when I was DJing is, like, I look up in the crowd and it's, like, all of my friends, and it's because of me. Like, I brought them together. There's been times where I brought, like, strangers, and they're like, yo, like, that party you did, guess what? I met somebody there, and now I have a photo shoot with XYZ. And I'm like, dude, like, that's like, to me, that's probably, like, one of the most full circle things to happen. And,
it's pretty wild. We've had a couple people go to feel good events and now they're married.
Yeah, you told me about that. I was like, what? Like, love in the club is
it's
real.
Pretty wild. And it's funny because we're at this age where, I'll run into these people at weddings and they're like, damn, commissary or feel good.
Yeah, like
next Thursday, what are we doing? Even though we're, like, fucking older now and we're, like, more mellowed out.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to go to how your professional life as a DJ now, being out there, being perceived as extroverted, the guy who's like, put your fucking hands up,
put your freaking hands,
your freaking hands up. That's a substitute teacher talking.
That's a substitute, like. Yeah.
But how that's affected your approach to women, and if you don't mind, maybe you could do, like, a deep dive to how it first started. Like, maybe your first crush, like the Rydre who had to talk to 3 new friends every day in elementary school. Versus the version in high school and versus the version now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I've always been, even to this day, like, Rydre. We're just going to talk about Rydre. He's always been a very mellowed out person, and it's good, right? Like, I have a lot of friends, and then when you see, you're like, oh, like, I like her, you know. Like I remember being a kid and be like, whoa, like I like her. And as I look back, there's a lot of opportunities I didn't give myself fully. Like I was the kind of person as a guy where I wasn't like this is where like sometimes some of my social anxiety hindered me, you know. Like I always thought like, oh, I'm not like the manliest man, I'm not like there's probably someone, she probably wants somebody taller, blah blah blah. And as a kid, like even with my first crushes, I remember just kind of I was the kind of dude where I would like, oh, let me walk you to class, and then like walk you to class and always be like, man, I want to like, back then it was like taking her on a date was like walking her to Carl's Jr. after school, you know. But as I look back, I could have been more forward in the sense of like just stand on business type of thing, you know, like don't run away, like pop the question, you know. And I think that was when I started to like, I remember just kind of, I had a lot of like my hometown friends that like they were my like go-tos and always like just had my back, and always just, they were the type to like, I remember I left my MySpace open, this is how back this goes, and they're like just messaging girls. I'm like, dude, don't do that. And they're like, no, dude, watch this. And then the message that I would like, it would be like, hey, I think you're pretty cute. And then I would expect them to like get, I was expecting like a bad reply, and getting like a pretty good response. I was like, oh shit, like what? And just kind of bringing it more forward now to today, I find like myself way more confident to like approach a woman. I'll like just talk to you, you know. I don't have any intentions of why, but I'll go up to like a woman and just be like for me it's like the most random things. Like I don't know why, like just nails. Like I'm like the dude in the club and I'll just see a set of nails and I'll literally go up to a girl and be like, yo, I really like your nails. And they'll be like, really? And I'm like, yeah, they really match your boots. Like you look really good. And they'll be like, oh my God, like you noticed that? I was like, yeah, no, they look good. And just having like a really genuine conversation has like, maybe it gave me a phone number, maybe whatever. And it was like just kind of that, like I have nothing to lose at this point. Like I was like, whatever, like I genuinely do like your nails. I think you're a pretty girl, but it just requires me to like jump into it more confidently, that I had to teach myself. And it started with the whole, you know, like you know, make 3 friends or whatever. And that mentality of putting yourself out there was like really what got me to put myself out there. And you know, everyone's been turned down, you know. Some of my friends actually that I've had started with like, I have a friend where I went up to her and I was like, you're really cute, da da da, like I want to, and she was really nice about it. And then like she didn't tell me she had a boyfriend till later. I straight up like asked her, I was like, hey, like I want to take you out. And she's like, oh, like, you know, you're a sweet guy. I don't think my boyfriend would like that. And I would try to play it off. I was like, no, he could come too. Like he's like, he could be the third wheel.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, no, he could come. He could be third wheel. It's all good. But we still like we don't like talk, but I still be like, yo, like, you know. And she came to one of my DJ events, and she didn't bring her boyfriend. But I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, girl, you missed the boat. You missed the boat now. But no, she's still really cool. And like every now and then, I'll just be like, yeah, like I'm one of those guys where it's like, if it's her birthday, I'll be like, yo, happy birthday, even if we don't communicate and stuff. And because it's like, to me, it's like it doesn't matter, you know. It's like like rejection used to be something that I was like deathly afraid of, but now it's just like it's cool. I don't expect it, but when it comes, it's like cool. Like, you know what, you gave me the 2 times a day, and like I'm the type of person where I have like so many just random people in my life, whether or not it was like a rejection type person that I was like, oh, like moving on was something that I had to teach myself. And it was something that the women in my life that it didn't work out, relationship, friendship, like that's where, you know, like Rydre got hurt, you know. Rydre would be like, get your ass up. Rydre was like, man, that's crazy.
That's crazy because you know, you're a Bryson Tiller fan, and I saw a video of him where he's like, oh yeah, I approached a girl, thought she was cute, and they said, you know, what's the worst that she could say, you know? And she was like, oh no. And he mentions that he's never talked to, he's never approached another woman before, and you're quite the opposite, right? You almost found a silver lining, a nugget that you could take and be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, at least I got this. Like a 5-second conversation, that led to rejection, but at least you allowed me time of day to even speak to you, and I learned from that. Like that's awesome. That's a different mindset. I think a lot of people live more in the fear mindset. No shade against Bryson, right? Not at all.
Yeah.
Because I think the approach everyone should experience. I don't think everyone should be actively approaching. Right?
I
think there's this talk now of basically attracting versus pursuing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I lie on that side of the spectrum. And I do believe that sometimes approach is kind of needed just to, as a man, you almost feel like you want to test the waters at times.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if you attract it, it's not, you don't really need to test anything. It's not the unknown. You're not brave for attracting someone. You know, they come up to you, they tell you you're like, all right, cool. Like you kind of already know. But on the flip side, going into the unknown takes a lot of fucking bravery. I'm gonna give you that 100% because I've seen you do it almost without hesitation, right?
Like I said, that's the other guy, but like he's crazy. But no, I always feel like as I talk to like the few and growing, like having like more male friends that I can get deeper with is a big thing with me, and I feel like it's like part of a man's lore to like rejection is like part, like a woman's rejection is part of like you either get strengthened or turn into an incel, and I'm like, that's crazy.
But also to give you props, the way you do it comes off very friendly, that allows you to segue into something else, right? And I think the way you approach is really important also, because some guys lack a lot of social cues, where they cannot read the room, and they straight off come off as I see what your intentions are, which in some cases works out because there's someone for everyone, but in a lot of cases you can almost always prepare yourself to be rejected, right? And I think that's at that point when they get rejected, they're like, oh shit, it didn't work. See, like that's women they just don't like me. But okay, how about maybe you refine your approach? And the reason why I bring this up is it goes back to the idea of practice and how everything can be practiced and you can improve. And it seems like you do it very well. Like, is there anything specific that you do that kind of so women can perceive you like that?
Gosh,
because you definitely refined your process.
No, that's a good question. I never really thought about it, but one of them is like I have a good amount of female friends, right? And I talk to them, and it's almost like kind of I give myself like a baby homework assignment to be like if you want to talk to a woman, you got to learn from a woman, right? So like I'll just listen to like little things, and I'll be like, okay, cool, like. They'll be like, oh my god, look what this guy told me, and blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting like an insider scoop. So having like some real world homework helps a little bit. Then on top of like approaching, I think having things to like kind of talk about, like this happened like kind of recently, like a couple months ago. But anyway, this girl like is so, like you said, reading social cues. I'm there with my friend, and this girl like looks at me, and I have this like theory, and maybe it's like psychology, but there's like, if a girl looks at you for longer than 3 seconds and looks at you and doesn't look away, that's like I'm flirting with you in girl world a little bit.
Through the eyes. And so that's your approach to be like, you gotta like go up there, be smooth, don't be like trying to like rush over there, but go say hi. And so I was like walk up to her, and it's like, oh, like I was like, you look really good. And she like instantly was like, oh, thank you. No, you look good. And I was like, oh, like, I'm the type of person where it's really hard for me to like take compliments. So I was like, oh, I just kind of was like, oh, I appreciate that. And then we're talking, and I noticed she had a tattoo like on her collarbone. So I was like, instantly, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that as like, instantly, like always like doing it. I'm the type of person where maybe it's like nails, boots, hair, whatever. Even if I don't know anything about it, I'll just kind of like, you got to find an in. So I saw a tattoo, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be the in. And it was like something I could tell was like written in Japanese, but I couldn't see. She got a strap on. I was like, oh, what does your tattoo say? And she's like, oh, you wouldn't know like what it said. And in my head, I'm like, I watch anime, girl. I just might. Like, you never know, right? Like, so she had a tattoo, and one of it was love. And I have the same tattoo on my chest. Yeah.
So that's why I kind of noticed
girl,
it.
you don't know.
Like, you don't know. So that was the funny part. We were talking and she shows it and I was like, oh no. I was like, I don't know what everything else says, but I know that one means love. And she like looks at me like, how do you know that? I'm like, oh, I have the same tattoo. And she's like, no, you don't, show me. And in my head, like when people challenge me, I'm like, bet, I'm buttoning my shirt. And she's like right in the club, just like bang. And she just stares at me and just like, oh my God. She said, what does that mean? I'm like, I think it means I have to get you a drink. And she's like, hey yo. And I was like, yeah, come with me. Whenever there's a girl with her friends, you don't want to like steal her away, but you want to like oh, come with me, like let's go get a drink. So we get a drink. It was cool. And she's like, I gotta go back to my friends. I'm like, yeah, no, like that's cool. Another thing I'll do too to make it like not as like sharky is like go talk to their friends too, you know, to make it like more open. And like I'll genuinely talk to them. Like I'm not doing it as assignment. I'll be like, oh, like what are you guys doing? What are you guys getting into? Like come hang out. Like sometimes I forget the main mission. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to a girl. Next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, we're having a movie night. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, let's all go. I'm down. Blah, blah, blah. But like I said, it's worked out in certain ways. Sometimes it doesn't. This girl, like, the new things girls do now is they'll like add you. They'll be like, I call it like purgatory, where they'll add you, but they won't accept you. So it's like always in. It's like those like you have their Instagram, but they'll never like
you're in limbo basically.
Yeah, like she'll follow me and I'll send her a follow and she won't accept it. And I was like, oh, that's a new one.
Whoa,
yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, that's purgatory, my guy.
That's wild.
I dubbed it purgatory, right?
Dude, rightfully so, I believe.
Yeah, like, so I think why they do it is so you can't keep adding them back, but then they still like. You know how some guys will be like, call me right now so I know it's you, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So you keep it at, I guess, purgatory. I don't know if maybe that's just her, but it happened to me twice one time, and I was like,
wow, that's interesting.
Is this maybe I exposed the women. They're like,
you know, our tricks to the trade.
Yeah, but...
because I do feel like those things have evolved.
Yeah.
Like the etiquette of approaching someone, especially, let's say, somewhere like a club, right? Because you use the word shark, right? And I think that is the shark's playground, or at least that it used to be, you know? I think women are smart, and they understand that, oh, I have a feel for this, and it might not feel right, or my girls are watching my back, and they could tell me if this is, like, good or bad, you know? And they've evolved from, you know, realistically, if you look at the clubs, like, 10 years ago, you could just walk to a girl and start dancing with her, right? Yeah, you can't really do that as much anymore. Yeah. So the etiquette of it has changed, and I think now that involves something like having a conversation, maybe a brief one beforehand, or maybe just eye contact. Yeah, like a lot of people don't know how to do that, and you know right now everyone's saying that the amount of times people get approached now is lessened a lot. And I think it's due to all these like new social norms, which I understand because you know the idea of consent, and also like women feeling like endangered by, you know, some random stranger approaching them, because things do happen. Like, it's very understandable. So for your approach to be where I'm gonna talk to them, I'm gonna have a conversation, I'm gonna find things to talk about, because I'm gonna show you that I am aware, you know, like I am actually socially aware, and I know I see the things around me. Like that means I'm competent enough to have this conversation with you. But beyond that, it's like, oh, you do it with a genuine like curiosity where you do want to speak to them, versus having an ulterior motive. Because again, I think the reason why the etiquette evolved is because women sense these things now. You know, they're like, like this is kind of weird, or this is this guy seems genuine and nice.
I was right too. Like I said, as a DJ, I'm like literally up there. Sometimes in the club, it's crazy. It's like people become, especially with a little bit of alcohol mixed and it's dimly lit, which is like that formula has worked forever. It's like the club wants you to forget like where you are. It's like you're in this space and you know it's dark. It's a mystery, and here's a mystery, right? But as a DJ, we're literally told like read the crowd. So what am I doing? I'm reading the crowd, and like I'm reading the crowd to be like, what song am I going to play? And I end up catching like the most like craziest stuff. Or I see the sharks out there. And if you ever want to see how sharky the club is, like go to the club with a girl, your girl, any girl, and just leave for a little bit. Just go to the bathroom.
Oh,
go
dude,
buy
you smell blood instantly.
Yeah, you'll just look at around. Like you'll see all the guys. I remember one time I went to Lock and Key, and it was like, I forgot why I went, but it was just me, and like I was just socializing, and these girls are really cool, and they're like, come like oh, what ended up happening, every time we'd go, we'd like stand in the middle, and there's like a little middle table, and then like I would sit there. Me and my friends would go there, and people would come and be like, oh, like, you put your drink on a table, come hang out with us. But anyway, I was there, and like I was just being nice, and the girls were like, no, like, come hang out with us. So it was like me and like 5 girls, and they were like really good looking girls. And I remember like random guys I noticed were just kind of looking at me and be like, why the fuck is this guy getting like all the girls up in here? What is he doing? And I saw them like quietly come to me. And then this thing that guys like to do, especially like guys that don't know me, there's genuine guys, and then there'll be guys that like fake want to be my friend to try to
infiltrate girl group.
Yeah, so they'll be like, dude, like, mister, like, you're the guy, you're him, and I could tell, like, they'll be like looking at me and looking at her, and I'm just like, I know what you're trying to do, man. So you know, it's very interesting. Like, it's very interesting to look outside, like turning off the, you know, like just kind of trying to look at it through a woman's perspective as best as I can. I'll never be able to see it, but the shark is real. And
yeah, it's definitely interesting how that dynamic works. And to kind of talk about dynamics, right? Like meeting someone, you know, obviously you can find love in the club. Like we had friends who have gone married from meeting someone in the club, right? Yeah. We've been there.
You can find pain in the club too.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But I kind of want to talk to you about how that dynamic changes as far as your romantic relationships, because speaking to someone and initially approaching them is one thing, right? And learning that game is like one thing, but developing a relationship with someone outside of the club, or, you know, wherever you meet them, is like another thing. And was that something that you learned when you were younger also, because you grew up with mainly women as your friends, right?
I think having, like, just growing up mainly around my sisters, and I think that really shaped a lot about like how I approach women, you know. My sisters were probably like, you know, they say like your mom is your first love type of thing. Well, for me, it's like my mom and my sisters, you know. Like people have always said like, oh, I've never seen you mad. I'm like, do something to one of my sisters and you'll see me mad. But when it comes to, I'll say this, and no shade to anybody. Like I like to throw that out, because I don't really talk about like my past or anybody in the past, but I would never shit anybody. I want them to be happy, their happiest, even if it's not with me, you know. But there was a lot of overlap that was hard. For example, I've had a woman tell me like you suck at planning, it wasn't so much of me sucking at planning, but it was like my schedule was very weekend based, and my weekdays at the time, whether I had school or a job, or I'm looking for a new job, or like I just couldn't be as available sometimes. And it was something like previously discussed, but it's easier to say things than be in it. So like, for example, it would be like, I used to tell somebody I was involved with, they would say, oh, like, what are you doing next Friday? And I would straight up tell them like, oh, I'm going to reserve that day for you. I want to get back to you on Wednesday on that day, because I left that Friday open just like for a DJ opportunity. And this point in time too, I'm aspiring. I don't have a lot of, like, I've noticed like a lot of DJs will be like, oh, like this is my DJ schedule for the month, right? And I'm like, I haven't got there yet. Like I don't have a monthly schedule because I don't have that much work right now. And I would be like, hey, I would never like choose DJing over a girl if it didn't have, like, for example, I would say I'm going to take this DJ job because it will allow us to, like, allow me secondary income that I will then, we could take it to, you know, I was like, if you don't mind waiting for, like, a big thing was like, I remember saving up for this trip. I was supposed to go with this girl, and I like grinded my heart out. But by the time we got close, it was like the love kind of faded out, and it happens, you know. But just a big thing with me was that I didn't realize it at the time, because when I first started DJing, wasn't in a relationship, so I didn't think about it. Then when I started to intervene, or when I started to, you know, romance, there was like things like it'd be like, oh, we had plans on Friday. And then I would say like, oh, okay, I'll let you know on Wednesday. And then I'll approach on Wednesday and say, hey, this, asked me to DJ and it's a really big opportunity. How about, can we push it till Saturday? And I'll I want to celebrate with you. And I'm fair too. It's not like a thing like I wouldn't say no. It would just be a thing of like some opportunities at the time. I'm like, hey, like, I really need this and I would like need your support. If you can't do it, I get that. Like you have all right to walk, And what ended up happening, I realized, was like my need to grow was starting to like kind of push them away a little bit. So and ended up turning into, I'm not the person for you. And then like I said, Rydre, like the Rydre, like I'm like, no, I like doing stuff with you. But then I noticed I'm like, I can't always be there for you. And I use this analogy a lot, and I've told you where it's like my favorite superhero of all time is Spider-Man. I love superheroes. That's like something, as I mentioned, like my anime is my superhero. I'm a big fat nerd. But there's like this comic where it's like everybody wants to be Spider-Man. Nobody wants to be Peter Parker. And there's been times where I've missed out on certain events, like from my significant, because I'm DJing, and nothing like crazy, but like I wouldn't like miss a birthday or anything, but it'd be like oh, me and my friends are going out, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I don't think I can make it, but I want you to have fun. And I've noticed things like I used to get like, hey, I miss you, I wish you were here. And then I noticed like those texts stopped coming, and then I would ask how was the night, and it's it's just like I started to see this lap where it's like, oh, this person is, you could almost see like the walk away.
Maybe do you think a little bit of resentment?
Oh, 100%, 110%. I think that was something that it took. I was the type of person where I thought I could fix it all, where I could, like, when I started to see the resentment, I would try to fix it, and it would end up creating like this house of leaks where it's like there's a bunch of leaks everywhere, and I'm trying to plug this and that and this and that. And I've learned too that something that I told myself, the resentment was definitely warranted. I've never like I said, I've never faulted anybody for falling out of love with me. It, like I said, I've tried my hardest to like do it all, meaning like there's been times where like I've had a gig, I'll get home at 3 a.m., come back, try to like, there'll be times where it's like, oh, like come over after your gig, and I'll like come and I'm tired, and they'll be expected it's Saturday morning. They're like, okay, you promised me this and that, and I would go, but I'd just be tired. And then they'd be like, after doing like a day or something, they would be like, oh, and like no shade to anybody, but this isn't anyone specific, but it's just like there's been times where it's like I'm out, I'm DJing, I come back Saturday morning, and it's like, okay, I want to have an all day day. You promised me an all day day. Let's do it. Yeah. And it was hard. It was hard to do both, and it's caused a lot of like people to kind of exit my life, and I would try to get them back. And like I said, letting go is like something hard, but I realized like for me, and this is like for every woman in my past, I always used to be like, I want you guys, all of you guys, to find the person that matches you and everything like that. Like that's my closure. That it's like a lot of people like, what is closure? I'm like, I don't know, but I know that like if I were to run into any of my like exes or failed whatever ships, I'd be like, I really hope that you found what you wanted.
I think at this point in life is about finding the people that are the most compatible to you when it comes to relationships. And I don't mean that in just a romantic sense. I mean that even in friendships, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're younger and you have a lot less responsibilities, it's almost an endless amount of energy. It's almost like you can make time to fill everyone's cup, right? Like I'm here to not just maintain our friendship, but I'm here to like expand our friendship. Mm-hmm. But you get to a certain point in life where it's like, life gets life, and you know what I mean? Like you start to have to like do other things, and people get sick, and your health comes into question. Yeah. To where now it's like, okay, are you compatible with me? Right. Yeah. And that's when you kind of, for lack of a better phrase, like trim the fat. Yeah. Right. Because like, okay, I actually don't have the ability to maintain this relationship, right? Whether it's a friendship or a romantic one, but some people are okay with that, and that's when you kind of find out who is compatible, right? Compatible isn't not like you guys match,
Yeah,
it's compatible as like what fits.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people end up, especially later on in life. It's like, I like everything about you. Like,
yeah.
But this part of you that you want me to give you, I can't. It's just it just doesn't fit.
And that's where the like Spider-Man, where it's like, I want to be be 100 about you, but then I wouldn't be 100 about myself, which wouldn't be true. So it's like sometimes I realize sometimes, like, if you really love somebody, like, letting them go is like the best thing to do for them. And even myself too, it was something that like I've had to do, and it hurt. Like I'll tell you straight up, like it was life changing to let some people go. And but I know, like, even though like I haven't spoke to them, I know that they're gonna be in a better place without me, in a good way, And anyway, I know we have like to, but just lastly, I'll say that the women in my life that have came across me, it's given me tools to look forward to in the future. Now when I'm even in my like cupcake phase, I know what to look for. I know what like some people blindly go into it, and that's when you run into problems. Now I kind of know what I'm looking for during certain, even the earlier bits, because I'm like, I want to avoid running into the same wall again.
I know you're talking a little bit about value and how you felt like your partner didn't see the value in you, or at least the value that you want her to perceive you as, right? And I think this is just speaking from my own experience, as with everything that I talk about, it's just mainly from my own experience, is that person, no matter how much you try, will never see the value that you want them to see in you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things where, I'm reluctant to use the word never, but it's a high likelihood that it's not going to happen like that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the foundation of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
And if they seek for different values, and that's not the thing that they see out of you, then they're never going to see, because that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And regardless, that's not to diminish you as a person ever.
Yeah.
Right? Because you cannot please everyone.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me personally, I'm not like a high value, quote unquote, based off of whatever the fucking standards are nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But I present a lot of myself in the things that I do where people can respect it.
Yeah.
Right? And the people who don't, typically I can feel it right off the bat, where it's like, okay, there's no connection there with this. Like, this means nothing to you that I'm doing this, or I'm striving for this, or I'm taking care of my family. Like, and if it doesn't, that's almost a indicator to me that, okay, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think chasing people's validation, which I've done also, that doesn't align with my own beliefs.
Yeah.
And not to say that my beliefs don't change, they have throughout the years, but the person that I am at the moment, it's usually leads me down the road of the people pleaser, and to give you an example, I was in a relationship for a very long time where stability, academics, and climbing up the corporate ladder is very important to my then significant other.
Yeah.
And I found myself chasing those things, even though it did not align with me. And I say this all the time, where I'm like, I should have probably never even graduated from college. And I did, due to her wanting me to, right? Not out of my own belief in the system.
Yeah.
And I've, now, like, I don't regret much in life, right? Like, I feel feelings of regret, but I don't, after looking back at it, I don't regret much, because that person that, that path that's led me here allowed me to see those things. And without it, I would never have understood it. So to me now, I think about, okay, I know that moving forward, school and academics is not something that aligns with me. And that's not something I want to change about myself. Like, and that's not to say that I don't like learning. And that's where I want to really be open about. It's like, I love learning. I love learning about things that interest me.
With you,
right? And for me to strive to graduate from college, and I've done stuff even beyond that. Like I've literally changed the way I've looked.
Yeah.
To please someone that I was in a relationship with, and to me, every little bit that I give to them in a way that doesn't align with me is where I lose myself.
No, I definitely can resonate with a lot of what you said, and like, it's weird as I like look back at it. It's like I always have this like I don't know. You know, I think it's natural as like humans. We always kind of be like I wasn't good enough, or like what did I do wrong? And it's weird. It's like even the women that didn't want to be with me. It's not. It's like almost when I look back at it, I was like, no, I think they valued me. They just maybe, and this is just because some women have left me and didn't really say much to me. Just like I'm leaving, and that's cool. That's what you need to do. But it's almost I never knew where I was in their life. They would say like, oh, if I try to ask them, it'd be like, well, if you have to ask, you're insecure. And then I'd be like, no, I'm asking you because I want to communicate because you're so unhappy. Is it because of me? And I could never break that threshold of, well, if you have to ask, then, I like insecure is like a trigger word for me. Wow, like I hate that word. It really like if you're my partner, say I'm insecure. Like I remember just, and it's not like at the same time too, I'm not like bashing them on it because I'm like looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe I was trying to people please so hard that, let me give you an example. There were times where I would try to like avoid the argument, right? So I wouldn't say anything. I would do what they want. And then they would say, are you having a good time? And I'd say, oh, I want you to have a good time. And then they'd be like, well, aren't you having a good time? And I'm like, no, I'd be like, truthfully, like I'm a little tired. So I apologize if I'm turned down. And it would just turn into this like spiral. I'm like, no, I want to be here. I'm just tired. And then, just long story short, it was a lot of like, I've had all of my partners I've been with, even the ones, because I'm not perfect either. I have specific partners where like I've failed them with, no one's perfect. I've said this to you before. I'm the hero in some people's stories. I'm the villain in others. There's a lot of people that you drop my name, though I don't know what they would say. I don't think it would be the best. But all of my partners have definitely, it's like I look back and I'm like, I'm actually proud to have been your partner for a while. You complimented me at that time, but there was also, we didn't work. And I'll never really know why some of them chose not to be in my life anymore. And they would tell me, I value you. But I always remember like thinking like, I know you value me, but I'm not asking you for much in the sense of I want your peace. I want to like come home to you and feel like working in the school space, sometimes you meet kids and like I've had to work in schools in rough neighborhoods. I'd had kids cuss me out. I had a kid, call me a certain hard R that like really bothered, having like little kids. Damn. He called me that. I kicked him out the room and he's like, I'll be back. 10 minutes later, he came back like all brazen. And I remember just feeling defeated. And then I told my partner and they're like, well, you don't want to look for another job. Like I've been trying to help you. And maybe it's part of my pride because I look back and I'm like, well, I'm trying to be this high value man. I should be able to get my own job. I like to, So there was a part of me that's like, I've had my partners be like, let me look at your resume. And I've told them like, no, I got to do this on my own. Because it was hard because I wanted to be like, oh, I can do it on my own. And maybe to them, that's why they're like, well, that's why you're insecure. You won't let me help you. And I had to like internally dissect that. And that's why I'm like, I can't fault anyone that didn't want to be with me. But I do remember at the same time, too, there was a lot of stuff I did behind closed doors. And I didn't do it there's just a lot. Like there were times where I remember just waking up one night feeling like, how am I going to, like I want to do stuff with my partner, make them happy. What do I need to do? I remember I stayed up one night till 5 a.m. just putting out job resumes, DJ, just like, hey, I'm a DJ, blah, 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 just whatever. Like I just told myself I want to provide, like I want to. And some things came out of it. And I remember telling my partner, like I remember I did a wedding and I told my partner, and that same night they were like, oh, well, I just don't see you. She's like, I see you're a smart guy, you could do it, but I don't see you, like pretty much like you're lazy. And I remember I was like, I grinded my ass off. You weren't seeing me like lug equipment I just remember sweat. Like I remember I had to, when I used to do certain events, I had to have a pre-outfit. Like I would wear like shorts and a t-shirt because I'm lugging so much. I used to do it on my own, and the pay that I did it for was laughable, but I did it because I was like, that's date night money, you know? Because I would never make my partners pay. And then that became a thing where it's like, well, I tried to pay and you didn't let me. And in my head, I'm like, you're right, I didn't. And that's probably what led you to believe that I was insecure. Because in my head, I'm like, I wanted to treat you. I want, like, I see you waiting for me while I'm doing these stuff. I want you to reap the benefits. And the communication in between was what muddied things up. And it's not to like stick up for them and put myself down. I've just tried to find a middle ground of like, you know what, Rydre, I had to have other people tell me this. I was the type of dude, I've always trying to like, it was hard for me to, my partners were my best friends. I've lost a couple. That was the hardest part for me, losing my like best friend. And I've always wanted to be like, make my best friend. This is maybe the people pleaser that needed to like get hurt, where it's like, oh, I wanted you to, you know, I've had partners just tell me a lot of stuff that when I did it, you know, I was like, oh, I wanted to do that for you. Like I used to sit down with my partners and be like, I want to make you happy. Not in a sense of I want to make you happy because that's my job. I'm like, I see your potential and I see that you're struggling. And I want to be a partner to help guide you to be the best version of you. But I failed to realize that I was talking so much about them that I never gave an expectation of like what I needed from them. And so when it was time, I was like, oh, well, you didn't say anything and stuff like that. And it was difficult. But like I said, no shade to anybody, and I want them to find what works for them. But it was part of the man's lore, dude. Just kind of a little heartbreak era. But now I'm in a space where you know, there is somebody who's like been showing interest in me, and we both sat down and we're like scared, and I was like, oh, like this is really fresh and really random for like both of us, and I don't want to make the same mistakes. And it's well, and sometimes it goes well to a point where it's kind of scary well. But I just know that like I told myself I'm not going to change who I am to a certain degree. Like I'm going to be more giving to myself, but I'm not going to give less to somebody that didn't hurt me, but I'm also not going to give them hurt that has hurt others.
I feel like with not just that relationships, but in relationships in general, there is a idea that we have to compromise ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I think life in general is full of compromises, right? Mm-hmm. But I think compromising yourself where that part of yourself is actually beneficial to you, because you compromise certain things, right? Like let's say if I have to cut down on drinking, it's not a bad compromise. You know what I mean? It's better for my health, things like that. You understand why that compromise works. But let's say you're very ambitious about your goals and you want to become this DJ, or you want to play in this festival, like this thing that's been you for so long, you know, and to give that up typically tells me that this person doesn't have the best in mind for you. But you also have to ask this question if it's the best in mind for the relationship. Yeah. And I think that's something that's really hard to see sometimes, because asking someone to give up something that's so meaningful to them is a big ask. Yeah. So in the case of like your partner and you trying to find this balance, it's almost like you have to figure out what life is that you guys want together. Yeah. Versus just independently, because you will always be you. You're an individual and so are they. Yeah. Right. But if you guys now are connected through a relationship, what is the relationship that you want to cultivate? And that having that discussion sometimes has a lot of different intricacies that's hard to see. Yeah. And, you know, going to a man's lore, one of the things that I know a lot of men do typically, I think there is some kind of drawback to this, is that when we do a lot, when we want to provide a lot, we typically keep it under wraps. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I tell this story that, you know, I don't even think I told my ex at the time, but I've told it multiple times on the podcast, because it's one of those things where I've made myself the victim, right? Yeah. Where I remember I was so broke back then that like I sold a jacket, one of my favorite jackets, for like $5 to a consignment store.
Yeah.
To get $5 worth of gas so that I could pump gas to pick her up from work.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't have to pick her up from work, but I chose to do this. But to her, she just saw me arrive at her workplace, pick her up, and take her home. You know.
No,
and in the background, here I am, like I was selling the jacket off my back.
Yeah.
And again, that was my fault to the degree that I never shared that, but I expected her to appreciate me for that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? Because we get to this age where we understand, oh shit, what do you mean you can't read my mind?
Yeah, no,
now we
100%.
understand that.
I was the same way, man. I used to be like a Craigslist warrior. I used to, like, when I needed, you know, every guy in that's gonna listen to this is gonna be like, wow, you did that. Like, you might be like I said, hero or villain, but I used to, like, I had my little online market, and I would just, if I needed to, sometimes I'm like, I would calculate XYZ, and I would, like, get some of my video games, and I would just, like, put them online, put them for like if a new game was $60, I'd put it for like 45, because I needed that 45 more than I needed to break even or whatever. And I'm like, sometimes that's what I had to do. Or you brought up gas. This is like a famous story. It wasn't for a girl specifically, but it all almost led up to, like, I needed to put gas in my car. I didn't have gas to do what I needed to do to get money to take this girl out. So anyway, I had to siphon gas from my lawnmower to pour it in my Camry to go pick somebody up, to get paid for that job, to take that's I give that story. Wild. We talked about it one time, Peter, where it's like, well, where do you draw the line for, like, you know, like you know, because when you're doing these things, you're like, nah, like, this is like, you know, like, you never know like how crazy you are till after. Yeah. I remember when I got my car broken into, I was like going with my girl on a date, and I was late because I was with my brother and my nephew, and I was trying to make it both work. And I just parked downtown, and I remember just, like, everything was good, and I was happy to be there. But my car got broken into, and they stole my Switch because I was with my nephew. And I remember I didn't have enough time to go home. Like, I would never bring my stuff with me like that. And I remember just feeling like, wow, like, even when I'm trying to do right, it's like it comes with, like, this. I think the universe is trying to tell me you're doing too much and you're not going to see it, so we're going to show you. But yeah, there's a lot. Like, I talk to a lot of my guy friends, and we all have stories where it's like sometimes our girls don't really know what we're doing to get on the other side. And at the same time, I'm like, sometimes I look at my guy friends and I just give them a hug and be like, let me get you a drink. Now, you don't have to. I'm like, nah, dude, I will. Okay, I will, because you're gonna be my, like, you're gonna be passenger princess, aka, like, let me get you, like, it's gonna be a small mini date to the bar, and, like, you're gonna be, let me take care of you, my guy. But like I said, I remember just a bunch of stories where it just runs off like that, and it's not, I don't use it as, like, a tool of, like, I don't talk about it like it's, like, something I'm proud of. It's something that's, like, this is a type of love that they probably didn't realize or know. But if you give it for the right reasons, maybe, I think we did it because we didn't expect them to have to know that. We expected a compromise that maybe wasn't spoke about or understood. So when you try to talk about it, it becomes a, like, well, blah, blah, blah. And
I think that's where it gets difficult, because
it does.
You know, if you bring it up, it's like, oh, I get it. You do so much for me. Right? Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, I had to eat Del Taco, like, 3 tacos to get here. Yeah. And, like, I used to eat before my dates so that I wouldn't get as hungry, so that I would be like, oh, I'm not even that, like, I'll get, like, a meal. Because there were some times where it's like I would try. I'm telling you, man, like, there was some down ass bad. Yeah, like, I would go eat before the date, get there, be like, oh, like, I'm just going to get, like, a salad. Because then if you don't get food, it's like you're just going to watch me eat. And instead I'm like, I'm broke.
Yeah. See, it's hard because we have pride as a man. And that many times is our fault, right? And
yeah, it is.
You know, we go through those down bad times where we're like, fuck, what were you trying to prove? And it's funny because sometimes our significant other tells us exactly what we need to do, and we refuse to listen. We refuse
it because of our ego.
Yeah, because our ego. You know, I've definitely. So, you know, one of my exes, she, you know, actually multiple of my exes are like this. Fortunately, they would tell me like, I don't really need like super expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Or fine dining, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, in my stubborn, egotistical way, I'm like, oh no, like you're gonna get nice things, you're gonna get luxury items, and I'm gonna take you out to fine dining.
Yeah,
you know, and I would see every time now in hindsight that they actually really didn't enjoy it as much, and they told me beforehand. They did. Somewhere in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna spoil you, but in the way that I want to spoil you, and not in the way that you would actually be grateful for.
Yeah,
you know, and then. You know, me being immature, I would fault them like, "Oh, you really even like that? That's, you know how much it cost."
Yeah,
and rightfully so, they'd be pissed. Like, I never fucking asked for it.
Exactly.
And I'm
like,
shit.
And that's what I think as a mature, because I don't want this episode to be like, yeah, women, you're no. It was us guys. Like I think that's a part of my journey where like learning to communicate really stood out to me, because being a people pleaser that can't communicate. Not saying I am a people pleaser, but those attributes came out without the right communication, and that's when I said, no, you have every right to maybe from your perspective look and say those things, because like, and it took a lot of like mental headway to be like, no, I get it, I understand like why you felt that way, and it is it's something that because like I said, if I had all the tools necessary, maybe I would have been married if I had all the right answers, you know. But it is something that like I'm actively working on, which is like really fixing the communication, because you know, as I think about it, all the women in my life that came has told me I don't need to do the most, but like I said, it was my ego that was like, oh, but you'll probably want to, or maybe somebody else will treat you better, or like, I don't want to be looked at as like a lesser guy, so I would try to push myself to the extremes. And you know, that's when it was like you're doing it wrong, that's not the particular right way to do it. And or at least that's what the universe has shown me, that it's not the right way. But it is I would say that like just this current knowledge up into where I've got to today is that I think that's why I say I don't fault anybody. And I sometimes look back at myself and I pat my own self on the back and be like, dude, like there's this quote, and I've never shared it with anybody, but I'm gonna tell it to you and the internet. So my mom was she was watching me, and she was seeing all the stuff I would do, and she's like, you're not coming home, she saw me like going to work, coming back, dealing with this person, and she was just like, you know what, Rydre, I need to talk to you. We were at work because I was at the school and she teaches at the school, and she said, I love this girl to death, and she's like, but I see she said, I need you to know she's not your wife. And she didn't mean it disrespect. She's saying you need to be okay with like, you can't be there all the time. And I'm like, Mom, no, I know that. She's like, she sat me down and she said, my parents are divorced. And she's like, you've never seen a two-person working relationship. She said, the way you treat women, you are trying to fill the void of like what I never got. She said that you've watched your mother struggle, never get flowers, never get it, I love you, never get anything. And you've taken that, internalized it, and now you're trying to be the almost like husband I never got. And I remember just like, it just struck a chord, you know. I've never shared this with like anybody, but and it really made me realize like, yeah, like I care about these women a lot. And I'm, you know, like I remember just being tired, springing up in bed, cooking breakfast, and being like, what do you want to do? Let's go get your hair did and stuff. And I didn't want to do it because I wanted to like spend money on them. It was like I wanted them to, I think the best feeling in the world for me was like my girl was happy and like come up to me and just show eternal gratitude and being like, thank you, you know. And I would push myself to limits, and they would say, oh, I was grateful, you were too in your head to see it. And we didn't work out, so at this point I don't care what is and what isn't. But I do remember when my mom told me that and like sat me down and was just like, she told me that, and it was just something I wanted to share, because I'm like, yeah, no, I never really looked at it like that until she said something. And I never looked at like how, you know, watching my I don't really talk about like my parents and stuff like that, and I'm happy for both of them if they're happier. But I know like as their son, watching certain things, really like I wanted to be like the guy that maybe my mom never really got, and that pushed me into doing it the wrong way. So now I'm like, I want to do it the right way, you know. And it takes a lot of like looking in the mirror and being like, no, dude, you did do it wrong. You were the villain. And that's, you said something in one of the podcasts, the previous ones, where it was just like, I used to think guys that did XYZ were bad. Now you kind of have a different idea. And I remember hearing that, and I'm like, yeah, I used to think a lot of stuff about myself were bad, how I've treated one of my past partners, how I just wasn't, you know, I wasn't the best. And I lost my best friend because of it. And I would hope that, or no, I hope they're in a better place. But I took a lot of growth from that. And yeah, I think that it's something I want people to know, that I'm flawed. I was doing it wrong. I was doing it wrong for the right reasons, but it was wrong. And you know, we strive to be better. And that's something, even if I was doing it right, I would still strive to be better, because I always have this idea where it's like, better doesn't mean it's just max optimal. I don't know what perfect is. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm trying to be the max better. So that's just me though. Hey, some people be like,
no, I mean, dude, this whole podcast is about everything you experience and the way you think, you know, because if there's anyone out there that can relate, awesome, you know what I mean? We're not trying to be the optimal bro podcast. That's not the point. We're just sharing stories, and hopefully someone out there can relate, and you know, if they could get value out of it, awesome. But going back to what you were saying about how you realized that version of you wasn't the optimal max better version of you now, I do think that there's a similarity between us, right? And I think we see things very similar, and especially how we are now. And I think letting go of the idea that we weren't the best boyfriend or, you know, supporter or friend at one point, for the idea of this more improved, better version, is something that requires us to give ourselves grace and like be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, we're not flawless. We never ever thought that. But maybe let go of our ego that told us like, yeah, this is the right way to do it. And maybe it's time for change. You know, and I kind of want to go into it, but like you mentioned that your mother didn't get her flowers. She didn't really get that. I love you. You know, both are, my parents are divorced, your parents are divorced, so I understand that to a certain degree, you know. And I think where we ended up was opposite sides. So I ended up staying with my dad, right? Which was, you know, I had a father figure in my life, and you end up staying with your mom. And opposite in our cases, right? And for me, I grew up with a very like toxic masculinity of like how I should provide and like sacrifice everything, and also at the same time be completely right, like emotionally, all the fucking time, you know, that I didn't know how to convey how I really felt with my significant others. And when it came to women, like I also didn't learn how to speak their language, right? Which is something I'm assuming on your side you probably do a little bit better than me. I think that kind of that's a good parallel I didn't think about, because I didn't even know, like I knew your parents were separated, but I didn't know that you were stay with your dad. So that explains a lot why you're good with like handiness and stuff. So through that, you know, I found myself in relationships where I was too accommodating to my significant other, right? Or I tried to be more accommodating than what they would even ask for, and expecting them to appreciate me, because I didn't know how to tell them that I actually don't know exactly what you want, but I was taught to do this, so therefore I'm going to do it for you. and not understanding that, hey, we have different values. Like that might be important to you, which is funny enough, it wasn't really even important to me. It was important to my dad, and he passed that down to me. And which is the only way I could see relationships for a while. So I realized, oh shit, this relationship is very situational. It's a combination of you two, right? And if it's a different combination, you're gonna get different outcomes. So it's a lot of, it's weird because we both didn't have both of our parents in our life, right? And we have to learn. And I think this is where I want to kind of segue into this topic of camaraderie and having like the boys, right? Because having like a group of friends that are mainly girls is great too. You get to see the opposite side of the coin. But the boys, as far as like in companionship and how we learn how to speak to each other, and we're talking about like real friendships, right? And I'm not saying those other friendships not real friendships. I just put real friendships above like the friendships that you kind of just pass on by when you grow up. And if they really want the best for you, your boys, right? Which if you call them your boys, I would assume so. They'll tell you the truth. Right? Not due to their own influences, but what works for you, specifically Rydre. And like I look at you and I know you're a great guy. I know things that you've gone through, maybe not your whole story, but but at least what you present to me, and I can see like where you need that little bit of companionship, where you're like, Rye, you're a great guy, and like even though things didn't work out, like you never ever need their validation for closure, because you should be comfortable with knowing that you're a good person, right? And as far as like what you need to do for someone else, you also need to know that you're worth someone reciprocating that same kind of love.
I appreciate that, bro.
And I think that's what it is. Like we don't tell each other that enough, where we have friends, and myself included, at times where I feel like I am not worthy of that love, or sometimes even just respect. And it's like, why do we put ourselves down to be lesser than, so that way people can meet that standard? No. We should uphold our standards and have people rise to the occasion.
I think that's, like I said, growing up with, and I even, like I said, I have brothers, but because like they were older and in like just out the house, so I grew up mainly amongst women. I have my cousin who's 2 weeks older than me, and we grew up very close, but he lived with my aunts, and but basically, like, I realized as I got older that there was a lot of, like, man guidance that I kind of didn't get, that I didn't realize I know I needed until I'm in a position where I'm supposed to, like, I'll take leadership roles, and in the back of my head be like, damn, I don't really know. Like, I know how to lead. I know how to, like, talk to somebody and, like pick you up and drive. But then there was other, like, mental leadership roles that, like, I didn't really get. And so it turned into maybe me coming off as weak versus coming off as like I really just kind of like I know, but I don't know. It's hard to explain. And it would come off as like sometimes women would be like, oh, you're a guy. Like you should be able to do that. And I'd be like, I should. But I have this joke with my brother where we said we're going to start a book. And it's going to be about like, it's going to be like how to like teach guys to be a guy from guys that never had like a dad. I'm sure there's some out there, but what would make it funny for us is we said we'd like really make it super relatable. So like what people don't know is like this past summer, I went to a barbecue, right? And I was just like, man, like I've never actually barbecued. Like I'm the guy like I'll just get a plate and it's on the grill. Yeah. And I started doing this thing now where I'm like, dude, what am I going to do? Like, if like, like someone's like, hey, jump on the grill, you can't look sorry in front of your girl, So I was like, I went to Walmart, bought like a stupid little grill, bought like some meat, opened up YouTube. And I'm like, okay, I got to like teach myself to grill. And I remember standing there by myself, kind of wishing like, man, like I wish maybe it was my pride. I could have called my homies, whatever. But I was like, all right, I got to do this, And this is where like the friends and family come in. I enjoyed it, man. I failed. Like I couldn't get the shit to light. I was like, dude, like, what do you mean you're not supposed to use lighter fluid? Like I top to bottom it and like I ended up doing it. But why I want to like relate this back is like I've been crutching onto my brothers a lot more. I awesome. yeah, there's this conversations like when me and my past relationship didn't work out, like my brother didn't even know I was like talking to anybody, and I called him and he's like, what's up? And I just told him, and he just kind of gave me a very like man talk about it. And I try to get my other brother, like I try to get my previous relationship to join me and my brother, because I really wanted her to meet my brother and like his side, like his friends and my friends now. And it never ended up happening, but I wanted to show my male side, like, hey, like, you know, I know I play video games and stuff, but like I'm also like you know, look at this like woman that I brought, you know, like look, like, you know. And things happen for a reason, but that's where like I have to highlight like us guys. And when I say us guys, I mean specifically like the feel good guys that have been there for me in ways that you know, you guys just don't know. And I talk to you guys a lot more than I open up to you guys a lot more than I thought I would. I'm very standoffish about certain sectors of my life, and so just being able to open up actually helped me a lot.
All right, dude. So I want to get into the idea of help and how guys hate receiving help, right? Or at least guys that have an ego, and now I'm speaking about myself, that we can't do anything alone. You know, the world doesn't work like that. If you want to be a successful business owner, you at least need your customers, right?
Yeah.
You want to be in a healthy relationship, you need your partner. You want to be in healthy friendship, you need your friends, right? Yeah. So everything is relying on someone else, always. You know, even when you believe you're doing it by yourself, right? And I've done that. I'm like, I'm just gonna rely on myself, and if I do achieve it, it's due to the experiences that others have given me and the knowledge, you know, in order to achieve that. Like, we are an amalgamation of everything that we've been through and the people that have been in our lives, you know.
Yeah.
I think the more I let go of the idea that I could do everything by myself, the more I'm open to receiving help, and in a way where I'm not trying to take advantage of anyone at all. Because typically, a lot of times, my friends, you included, are always like, let me know what you need help with. And I find myself struggling with saying, yeah, this is what I need help with. Usually, what's the answer that you get from me?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'll let you know.
Yeah, which is crazy because I do this thing where I'm DJing, and if one of my friends are like DJing and stuff, I'll know when they're thirsty. I'll know. And there's like some tell signs. Like, they'll do this thing when they step away and they'll like look around, and then they'll just kind of like, and I'll it's different from alcohol. I'll tell you why I know why. Because anyway, long story short, it's just I was DJing and I went to get water, and somebody's like, how'd you know they're thirsty? I'm like, oh no, I've been there. And why I bring this back to you is because like I've been there too. That's why when you need help, I always put myself in your shoes and I see what you're doing, and I'm like, oh, I've been there where I need help, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ask for it, and I'm not gonna complain about it. But I feel like my genuine help to me is always like I would never offer help for somebody if it wasn't help. Like, I've had people kind of come and help and then try to like be like almost like I'm better or like I'm more. But with you, I'll say that I'm very keen. I'm always watching, and I watch about like who. Like I said, you never, even when we used to do the stream and you would literally lug equipment back and forth from here to the bar. And I was like, dude, I know like after a while it gets heavier. You're doing it weekly. It's hot. And I was just like, even when I tell you like, oh, dude, like let's put in my car and stuff. You're like, no, it's good. I need the exercise. And I'm like, no, we all need the exercise. You know, guys, Peter's gateway to not is I need exercise. Like, you do, but like, come here, give me this. But no, man, I think that when my male friends need help, I try to give it to them, and I'll be like, I know your ego is gonna probably say no, so I'm gonna try to give it to you in a way. Like, when my friends say like no, like every time we go out, you or any of the guys will be like, oh, like, no, I got you, you know, like I got you on a drink. And so after a while, I'm like, no, dude, you guys can't get me every time, like. And so what I'll do to some guys in the group, I'll say, okay, how about this? Like, you get the first round, I'll get the second round. Or I'll be like, no, how about this? Let's go get ramen like next week, and then I got you on that. So because that way I realize with guys we almost have to trick the other guy, like we're trying to help you, but you're not gonna accept it, so we gotta like.
True.
Nah, accepting help has been, or denying help has been denying myself a lot, and it's caused more problems for just to feed my ego. That has been like almost trying to fight a battle within myself that it doesn't have to. And that's why I think a lot of people will see me as like, oh, you're always helping the next guy, but you never ask. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'm trying to prove something that like I'm of needed that I don't have to. Because like meaning you guys are like, dude, just come. Like we don't need you to do it. Like I was always used to a space where if I'm somewhere, I feel like I'd be like, oh, I have to contribute something. Like they don't just want me here just for me to be here, So it was kind of interesting to see like, oh wait, like you just want me to come and show up. I don't have to like I'd be like, oh, that's genuine. And but like to the other guys probably listening to this, and girls too, I feel like that's not I'm just speaking as a guy because that's who I am. But anybody out there, I think learning to accept help it's comforting. There's no better feeling than like I tell people, you don't need the help because you can't do it. I'm doing it because you're reserved, like you're gonna expel yourself. I want you to take this help. Like you said, I think a lot of people are seeing me in this new light where I'm out there, and every weekend I'm out there, and I'm like, no, I'm helping my friends, but at the same time, it's a team-based everything. Like you said, everything. I try to do it alone. When I used to DJ, I never used to like tell people I'm DJing, and I would just go by myself and like expect to have results. And I realized that I'm literally just doing it this hard mode way for no reason. That's not going to work because it's a sport and that's not how you do it. And so now I'm in a space where I do crutch on. Sometimes I'll pull you guys aside and be like, yo, I'm working on this video. And like what I asked Johnny the other day, I was like, dude, what do you shoot your videos in? Like you guys made the music video. And I'm like, dude, because I want to kind of learn to be a better music video, instead of like maybe asking him like, hey Johnny, would you be down to like maybe shoot content with me? Because I'm like afraid. I know he would say yes, but I always have this, he's tired. Yes. Like I would be like, I'm so used to doing everything on my own, like top to bottom. And even if I'm doing it, I used to do this thing where I'd like to mess up behind closed doors so that when I go, I'm like, okay, see, like they don't know that you don't know what you're doing, like I'd be like, that was like a lot for me. That's like, don't accept the help. You should learn it on your own, mess up in the privacy of your own, and then go out there and like, be humble, but don't let anybody know you don't know what you're doing. But yeah, I would say that like I'm learning that I can't help everybody every time. Sometimes I get bombarded with like a lot. And I tell people I keep it very 100 with what I can't help. So like if I can't do something, I'd like to give an honest truth answer of like why I can't. And I always like to give a honest truth of like, just basically if I can't be there, I can't be there. But if I can be another time, let's make a time where I can be there. And I'm not one of those people to be like, yeah, dude, like let's hang out. Like I will straight up be like, oh, I'm really busy this month. Yeah. But I'm down if you're down to meet on like a Monday or Wednesday, and we could just, just kind of do whatever. We get Little Caesars pizza and eat it in the parking lot. I don't care. Yeah. But yeah, I think accepting help, especially as our male egos just kind of drive us due to, I think the society, like you brought it up, like trying to be a high value dude. I think trying to be a good guy and wanting to come from a good place without having a lot of guidance could sometimes have you guesstimating a lot. So help to me means a lot from a genuine place. So I'm very appreciative now of the people that literally will like put me in the corner and be like, you're not leaving until you like accept this help. And I'll be like, okay.
Yeah. And it's funny how we're learning this as we get older, that it's not like a sign of weakness, right? Yeah. And for me, one of the biggest things is that people actually value being around, like how you're saying, just for you. Like you don't need to do something to prove it. And if people lend a helping hand and they mean it, like genuinely, then there's no harm in accepting it.
Yeah, no, it is true. I remember I kind of explained to my good hometown friend, he's like my go-to, my guy, you know, my boy. And I told him all this stuff, and I told him, like, dude, like, I'm trying to get like you, man. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you're XYZ. I'm like, nah, man, like, you're handy, you do this, you do that. And he's like, dude, just ask. Like, he's like, you can, you know, I've had friends, my guy friends, like, when a hot water heater broke, my friend was like, wait, this whole time, like, you don't have hot water? I'm like, nah. And like my two guy friends, like, literally came through. He picked me up, drove me to LA. He's like, dude, he's like, we're gonna go find a hot water heater. I know what to look for. Got the hot water heater, came back. My house is like on the older side, so then he was like, no, I'm gonna come back tomorrow, that way we can install it. And I'm like, and I'm like, how much do you want me to pay you for your time? He's like, dude, don't worry about it. And I couldn't accept that. I was like, nah, man, like, if I was a DJ, like, or not DJ, but like, I take in the sense of like, when I DJ, I know what it's like to like give yourself off for free. You do it for your friends, but it's not like you're doing a lot. And he's like, don't worry about it. And I have a lot of those spaces where it's hard when people say don't worry about it. It was like really tough for me to be like, well, I'm worrying about it. So it's being worried. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight, you know, some of the like little things that have like happened to me with XYZ, with that kind of thing of camaraderie. And I'm telling you, some of the like, it's funny because I talk about it a lot with my sister, but I'm like, dude, like, if I do anything, it's my guy friends that will literally, like, I'll post a photo and my guy friends will be like, you got that shit on, my guy. Like, where are you, like, da-da-da, like, you're the guy. You look so goddamn good, man. Like, I bet every girl wants you. And I was just like, bro, like, not one girl looked my way. And he's like, nah, bro, like, fuck, you're the guy. And I'm like, oh, man.
Hey,
like,
Rydre, take back the Lambo key. Let me borrow it.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it's funny. The other day, my friend, we went out, and he was talking to this girl, and this girl was, like, clearly feeling him. And I'm just walking by, and then his phone died, and he's like, oh, I can't get your number. I instantly was like, well, mine's not, so you can get his number, you could DM him, like, I'm gonna be the middleman. And I don't know what happened after that, but I was just like, I love being helpful and accepting help. It is still a bit hard, so I don't ask anybody, but the people who I do trust are like literally like my go-tos. Like, I am a cultivation of not just my work, but my work is because of the support I have gotten. I'm not, like, in my head, my DJ career, it started like very small. And I talk a lot about DJing because that's the one thing that I've done in the sense of like, that taught me so much about life. And I just picked it up. I just did it for me. And, you know, you need help in that industry. And I think that's why I challenged myself to join, like, meeting other people. They're like, oh, I'm in this group, I do that, I'm part of, you know, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is me out here. And being in Feel Good didn't just teach me to be a better like DJ, it taught me to be a better friend, taught me to be a better person in relationships, because it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to get like, when you receive genuine, that's what you are, when you are a plant being watered with, you know, that kind of stuff. And that's why I think it's like, guys, go accept the help. And it doesn't just mean your friends too. Your friends aren't your therapist. Go seek like stuff. I tell all my friends in secret, and now the internet, I'm like, I've been going to therapy since like 2021, 22. And I tell people therapy for me, it's weird. It doesn't work instantly. It works in spaces that I don't expect it. Like when I find myself feeling more like myself. And that was me like telling myself I need to get the help. And I think what everybody else sees is this cultivation of this guy who's always XYZ. And I'm like, that's getting the help, you know? You're seeing the best versions of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I really want to like just really highlight the space of like, you don't have to do it alone. Right now, doing it alone, we're in the worst time to do it alone too, by the way.
Yep, the worst time to do anything alone.
Yeah.
I mean, people are lonelier than ever. You know, birth rates on decline. People are not getting approached as much. People are becoming more socially anxious because they don't know how to come out and maybe just have a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
I think all these things are telling us like what we need. You know what I mean? Like, why are all these other things happening? Because we're missing something.
Yeah.
There's a huge part of how we are as like a society that we're missing, and we're putting too much emphasis on the wrong things, you know. And it sounds like we're more of like the soy boy side, like soft boy shit. But like, no, really, like I don't deem any of those things as weak, you know. Like having conversations, you know, opening up to your friends, being more vulnerable, being honest, being authentic when you can't make it to something or you're just not feeling like it. Like no one that matters is going to demonize you for taking that time to yourself, right? Yeah. And asking for help. Like I think that's the thing, right? Where it's like we're so scared of what the outcome might be that we don't even ask. Yeah. And I think most of the time we're just paralyzed in our own minds. And you know, I've talked about this before. There can only be one outcome. Yeah. There could be 1,000 terrible outcomes in your mind, but there's only one real outcome. That's it. So why let the other things that will never happen paralyze you into doing something that might be great for you?
100. Just took the words right out of my mouth, man. And what you said about like the outcomes and stuff like that, I think that's something where it's very important. I feel like now every time I do something, I think about all the million reasons why I could go wrong, and then I just ignore it and do like the one, like just live in this world, not the universe's one of what could be, should be, can be, won't be kind of thing. But it definitely has reshaped like myself, and that's what I want people to hear from me, that I'm like, I always tell myself, and not like to put myself down, but I'm like, guys, I don't have any like special gifts, or I'm not like, I don't mean that in like I'm not special. I mean that I'm like, everything I'm doing, you can do. I listened to this, I think it was A-Track, the DJ, and he was like, guys, you do realize I get my music from the same places you guys do. You know, he's like, I'm a SoundCloud hunter. He's like, I'm not like some people think I just because I'm on festivals. He's like, yeah, I have connections, but he's like, the things I'm spinning, you could be spinning. Or like, he's like, I'm not using some magical program he's like, I made Heads Will Roll and went famous, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, this is what I did. And he's like, I did XYZ. And that really resonated with me a lot about like, we are literally capable of a lot, as corny as that sounds. But and then he, like you said, he talks about like having to get help and working with labels and stuff like that. But I'm a cultivation so far of like just accepting the universe. And it's like, I used to think as a universe a scary place. Now I'm like, it's wonderful that we don't know what happens tomorrow. It means we can be what we can, like the pen and the paper is blank. That's what it tells me, that we could write whatever story we want because we don't know what happens tomorrow. And now I'm just like you said, like I'm like, dude, like the economy is shit. Like I couldn't imagine what I would have to do. Like if I was the person I was years ago trying to make it in this economy, I'd be like, I don't, like that's insane. I was doing the most, and things like the economy and things like, I'm like, yeah, dude, I would love to have owned a house and have like XYZ, but I don't yet. And it's cool and it's fine. I'm working extra harder, but I'm also kinder to myself that I'm like, dude, like it's okay. Like my plan is not as grafted as one might think. And I'm like, okay to share that, because I'm like, but I'm doing different things. I'm pushing myself in different boundaries because of not fear, but because of like, I know my potential. I know that like my biggest fear is that I don't push myself to my highest potential. And that's where I'm like, you don't have to do it alone. That's it. That's like literally it. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see like where this next chapter of like all of us grow. Like I literally will be in the crowd with my friends that are doing XYZ, and I'll be like, wow, you're going places. And like I'm just so supportive, not because like I guess I want to be there, but I'm just like I'm looking at it from a perspective of like, dude, I like your workflow. I like whatever he or she is doing. I'm like I want to be in a room with people just like you that are just hungry for it. You know, that's what I tell myself. Like on my peak, like everything, I'm like, I'm hungry for it. like I become this like unstoppable force. And that's something where I'm just like, when I'm that way, not only can I like attract other people to get that way, but it's like now we're not just getting the help, but we are an unstoppable force. Like I remember when Don, we were right about to DJ, and he was like, we're the sickest motherfuckers in this room right now. And I was just like, you're goddamn right. Like we are. Like I was like, in that moment, I felt like we were just like no one could touch us. And everywhere I looked, it was like no one could touch us. When we were in New York, we're all DJing and we're just going and like that crazy ride of a journey. But I remember when we got there, I was like, yo, we are the craziest people to have made this happen. You know, like we did not accept no for an answer when no would have been the smartest thing to do. But we didn't. And like, yeah, we did it as a team, you know, and that was something I've always wanted. Like I said, I have really good male friends, and I've always wanted to have, like I said, I'm cool with everybody I have, but having a strong male just team, that's like when I even lean back, I get pushed forward even more. Like they push me harder, where I told you the story where I was just starting out into like going out, and like I knew I liked to dance, but I was too shy, and my friend would just go and just push me. By the time I look back, everyone's already staring at me, so I'm just like, I can't walk back now. Like that's even like now I'm in more, so I just like turn my brain off and just do it.
Yeah.
And I remember people just like chanting and just going crazy, and I remember like just while it's happening, I'm like, whoa, like I could do this. Like I can do this, you know. And I want to push people out there the same way my friend pushed me, you know. It comes in a light, but I see people's potential.
I think you do already, man, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope so.
In some ways you might not even see it, you know. Like I think you pushed me to be more of a genuine, authentic person. And even in days where you feel like you're not at your best, like for me to even acknowledge that about myself, where I'm like, okay, like I'm not feeling like the best right now. I'm like, should I put up a front and pretend that everything's okay? Like, no, but doesn't mean I have to bring the mood down. Like, okay, maybe I could use this time as a way to reflect and realize that I could be honest with my friends about my current situation, you know?
Yeah.
And not deem it as weakness. And more so like, hey, I'm opening this space. I'm allowing you guys to be a part of my life in this way, and you guys have done the same. Yeah. Like, let's join our hand in brotherhood and like really like fucking go through this.
Let's go through it. Yeah. We'll storm the gates
exactly,
together,
bro. I think one of the things I want to talk about is that, you know, where we are now, like not just as like men, but like as a society, is due to the past experiences and knowledge of everyone else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We did not start from zero. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We took everything else that was before us, and we used that as the new like bar, the new standard to go from. You know what I mean? Imagine if we never learned from each other. You know, imagine if we never opened up to each other. We would not be this far in life. Yeah. And I think this is like a new chapter because it's so different. The landscape now is so different, and I'm saying this now because I believe we need it more than ever. This kind of camaraderie, not just within like the male friendship, but like in society as a whole, you know. And you know, you being a person that's understood how to be genuine in times where others might not be is something I think is very necessary, and you know, I gotta applaud you for that.
Yeah, so. I really do appreciate that, man, because it is. I always say like being a genuine person, like there's no like award for it, you know, like, but the people that really will see it will give you that award, you know. Mm-hmm. Like it's as a guide, it's a very I guess it's the Spider-Man thing again. Like you don't, you know, you get applauded for it, but other than that, it's like that's it. Like maybe that's not the best example, but for me at least, I was thinking like there is no, just being genuine doesn't always give you like rewards other than people just genuinely like you, and that's the biggest reward to me, because some people will take advantage of you. I have definitely been taken advantage for my how I am, and it's caused me to like kind of be a little bit more selfish with how I am. Doesn't mean I change who I am, it's just who I give it to. But the ones that have, I would say, like, made me feel like, oh no, you've deserved that seat at my table. Like, I want that table to be full with just like everything that like we want to achieve, or just like, you know, we ride together, we die together, but we do it. We ride to Valhalla, brother.
Yes, sir. Off to Valhalla. All right, dope. I got some questions for you. Where you going to right now?
Okay.
So my first question, I'm pretty sure you've heard these questions before because you listen to the podcast, but you know, I'm sure you probably didn't think of an answer yet.
Yeah.
Is what makes Rydre, specifically Rydre, what makes you unique?
I think for me, what makes me unique is, I think it's that, probably like that, like I genuinely, like, sometimes like I see the best in people, I see the best in myself, like just seeing like this light that I'm like, that's potential. Whenever I see anybody, like stranger or not, there's always like a light that I'm like, I see your potential. I don't know if you heard that. Like, I'm not saying you, but I'm like, when I see people, I'm like, I don't know if you heard this today, but like, you really, like, you're more special than you think you are, even to a complete stranger. Like, just seeing like this almost like glimmer of hope that a lot of people really, I don't feel like maybe they hear it enough, but that's what always like comes to me. And I feel like that's a part of like my personality, just kind of seeing like this potential. Everybody has it, you know. But
second question is, what was a monumental event in your life, good or bad, something that's changed your life forever?
There's a lot of crazy ones, but I think the most recent one was when I left for college. Like, I think like being on my own in a very tiny school, like, really highlighted a lot of it. Like, if for it, like at my school, like, you kind of had to be more forward or else you're not really going to make friends. It was a very like kind of to yourself school, and it was like at a time where I had to put all that stuff to the test, like being more out there, like shooting the shot. That really, like, I even had to, like, I didn't realize, like, damn, I don't really know how to cook, you know. And so it really, I'd FaceTime my sister and be like, all right, like, teach me. So just literally going to, like, leaving the nest, the comfortability, and that was it.
All about leaving the comfort zones.
Yeah.
All right, and my last question, how would you like to be remembered?
Gosh, that's a really, really good question. I want to be remembered as somebody that was real with you. Like, even if we didn't work out, even if we don't talk anymore, just know what you got from me was real. I wasn't faking it. And even the mistakes I made, they were real mistakes, and some people didn't deserve it, but it was real. Nothing was fake about me, and like, what you got was what you got. And I want everyone to know, like, you got me. Maybe not my best version sometimes, but you got me. And I got you.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on, Rye.
Thank you for having me.
We're good friends already, so I'm just glad that we could connect a little bit more. And I think this is something that all male friendships should have, you know. And if I don't show you that enough as a friend already, I hope that I will moving forward, you know.
Definitely,
so thank you for your time and everything, brother. Can you let the audience know where they can find you?
Yeah, so you could find me mainly on Instagram, Rydrizzy, RYDRIZZY.DJ, Rydrizzy.DJ, and that's mainly it. There's like links in the bio for like all my other stuff, but mainly Rydrizzy on Instagram.
And I want to say thank you to the audience for listening all the way through. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below what you guys want us to talk about next time. And remember,
live fast, eat ass.